Cyberware is one of the most important and most fun parts of Cyberpunk 2077. There are also other things in the game like guns, healing items, melee weapons and armor, and I already attempted to beat the game without Cyberware, but today I'm gonna push the game to its absolute limits and attempt to beat Cyberpunk 2077 with only Cyberware. To get started, I'm going to be playing the game on hard difficulty, because I love the pain nearly as much as you love watching me go through the pain. And I'll be a street kid, because my friend's also playing the game on my PC as a nomad, and I don't want to get the saves confused. Now, I've got to create the borged out ogre that I'll be stuck with for the duration of this challenge. And while this little ogre is being birthed, let me go through the rules of this challenge. It's pretty simple. I can't use any guns, any melee weapons, healing items, grenades, or any clothing that comes with stat changes. Everything I use to get through the game has to be Cyberware, and that does extend to anything that I'm controlling by using my personal link. And with those rules sorted, and my newest dreadful homunculus created, I figured out my starting stats and got right into the game. And this little intro section doesn't have much of note. I played some roach race, failed to steal a car, and met Jackie before kicking my feet and giggling in excitement watching the little friendship montage. But when it comes to rescuing Sandra Dorset, things get a lot more complicated. To start with, I can't do a stealth takedown. These hands are not Cyberware, and seeing as my gun is also not Cyberware, the only tool that I have for dealing with the scavs is a cyber deck with 6 RAM, which is not ideal. The first scav was fine, but to deal with the rest of these guys, I have to stand around behind cover waiting patiently for my RAM to recharge before I can deal any damage. And that is very, very tedious. And the worst part is that to get access to other ways to damage enemies like gorilla arms, mantis blades, and projectile launchers, I will first have to reach level 10. And it's not just weapons, I'm also going to have to wait until level 10 before I can get a blood pump to start healing while I'm in fights, which is terrible news. So for the first couple hours of this challenge, it's kind of going to be net running only, but for now I finished up dealing with the scavs, and that may have been a very long and tedious process. But you gotta trust me on this, it has absolutely nothing on the absolutely ridiculous things that happen later in this challenge. Getting Sandra Dorset to the Trauma Team AV sucked, mainly because her lack of clothing makes the editing process for this video a lot more time consuming. I could just not put any footage of it in, but script frogwoman has already gotten voiceover frogwoman to complain about it, so editing frogwoman's hands are unfortunately tied. And with Sandra saved, it's time to head home. The vehicle combat is pretty doable with only quick hacks, and was honestly easier than clearing out the scavs earlier. Doing it without quick hacks, that would have sucked, but that was not the case this time. And now that I'm home, it's time to put on some new clothes. This outfit sucks, but it's kind of the best I can do when my player character looks like JD Vance's couch baby. Next on the agenda is to head to Vic's and get myself some Cyberware, so I sold off all of my stuff to maximize the Cyberware that I can get my hands on. Then I visited Victor. I was able to get myself an okay setup with the armor, optics, and hands that you have to buy as part of the story, and a mechatronic core for some extra RAM. This brings us to prepping for the Konpeki heist. Dex tells me I need to talk to Evelyn Parker and also grab the flathead. And Evelyn will definitely be first on the agenda because I want to get a bit stronger before I go and deal with the combat at the Maelstrom meatpacking plant. On the way to Lizzie's, I did some fighting because I'm going to need an absolutely huge amount of XP, eddies, and components to get through this challenge. Buying more Cyberware and upgrading it is not going to be cheap, so I'm going to have to take every fight I can to get myself those resources. At Lizzie's, I met Judy, who is perhaps the greatest character in the history of fiction. Then I zoomed through the Konpeki brain dance as quickly as I could, which was pretty quick because I have played 400 hours of this game. And all that got me to level 5, which is pretty good. I still have a long way to go, so before I deal with Maelstrom, I dealt with a crime and then another crime. It's honestly all very, very boring. Lots of standing around waiting for my RAM to recharge, and lots of thoroughly looting everything I can get my hands on once the danger is gone. I also made the horrible mistake of attempting to do the monster hunt gig. I would like to say that I put up a pretty good fight, but I am in no way strong enough for this. But I refused to admit my mistakes, so I kept trying, and I wasn't able to wipe out and loot the the whole building, which was the whole reason I came here, but at the very least, I was able to eliminate the target and escape the club, which brings me to level 6. Only 4 more to go before we can get serious with this cyberware stuff. Next, I dealt with some crimes, which is going to be a pattern in this challenge on top of just attacking random gang members. My need for loot and XP is not going anywhere anytime soon. Then, because I never learned, I did another gig where I fought like hell, died, and tried again. Maintaining stealth long enough this time to realize I need to go use a computer before I can steal the van. Still not done grinding loot though. I killed some more guys that were just hanging out, looted them up, then I went and dealt with a crime before rescuing a ripper from Maelstrom. I'm getting really sick of grinding this XP and loot at this point, so after I finished saving the good doctor, I went and got myself a RAM upgrade, then met with Meredith Stout. I kind of have a lot of money now though because of all the slaughtering and assorted stuff, so I ended up paying for the flathead with my own hard-earned eddies just to see what happens. Turns out, didn't do much. Militech still showed up and tried to ruin this beautiful gathering by attacking us. Most of the way through the fight wasn't actually too bad until it came to the mechs. These things are just massive, with massive health bars to match. I got the first one pretty low on health quickly, but the wait for my RAM to come back is absolutely catastrophic. So this second mech took way too long to kill. This challenge is going to get a whole lot harder than this later on, but this is enough to start making me lose it a little. But I eventually finished off the meatpacking plant and left to go back to work grinding more XP. I want to get to level 10 before heading over to Compeki Plaza, so just one more level to go. After a bit of grinding and CPD jobs, I leveled up and grabbed myself a monowire and a blood pump, then drove to the afterlife. Then I changed my mind and drove back to the Ripper to grab myself mantis blades, because I am really good at making decisions and my challenge videos are always super well thought out. At the afterlife, I declined a beverage because it is not made of cyberware. Then we had a chat about the job before getting to work. I left my gun that I have no intentions of ever using in the car, said hello to Hunter Schaefer's friend, and headed upstairs to get started. I got the little robot to sit on the dweller's face, which is a great plan because having my face sat on would also make it hard for me to do my job. Then I stole the chip and watched Grandpa get a little bit too overexerted and unfortunately fall over. Now I need to get out of here. So I started by dodging bullets way better than Jackie can. He really needs to work on that. Then we got to work fighting through Arasaka Tower very aggressively because stealth is for the weak and people that can use stealth takedowns. And I mean, I finally have a decent set of tools at my disposal. Things did get a little dicey, but I have a blood pump now, so I am finally able to recover from bad situations like this. And these sticky, white, and slightly salty situations just keep coming. But I'm an absolute beast at this game and love these sticky situations more than anything. So I got through it until I went to the garage and tried to fight these optional enemies. They absolutely destroyed me, but something in me is broken. So I tried again, and my cybernetic skill set was not enough to make this easy, but by being a bit more careful, I was able to take them out. Now I just need to quick hack some drones while Jackie dies in the passenger seat because he really needed to work on the bullet dodging more. Jackie may be gone, but I must continue on alone so that I can get shot in a location somewhere in between my nose and my hairline. I mean, this V is bald, so I'm not sure exactly where the hairline is, but that's not the point. Now, we have to discuss what I'm gonna do about playing as Johnny Silverhand while only using cyberware. For starters, this turret has a HUD that tells me I'm jacked in, so I can use it. But on the ground, things are a lot more problematic, especially when I'm accidentally falling off the roof. Johnny's gun is not cyberware. However, he does have that silver arm, so I tried only punching and only landing hits with the metal arm. But that was absolutely fucked. So I'm just gonna stick to punching only, which is better than only using one arm, but it sure isn't easy. I unfortunately had to shoot my gun once to break the elevator cable, but ultimately that was Johnny, not V. So I'm counting it as a failure of Johnny Silverhand's competence and moral character, not a failure of this challenge. Now it's time for me to suffer. I mean, look at this. I already knew that you could switch to fists only as Johnny, but I never realized how useless it is because I've always just used Johnny's gun because, I mean, it's a cool gun. But I don't get cool guns today. All I get is suffering and fists to faces. But somehow, after all of this bullshit you're watching fly past the screen, I managed to get through the enemies and upload my stupid little manifesto. Now, I've just got to die. Then I've got to come back from the dead as V once more. more, where Takamura stole my kill because he's a little bastard, leading me to once again be stuck in a chase sequence using only quick hacks. And this brings us into the main plot of the game. The doctor says that I'm dying, and the bisexual terrorist in my head seems to be the cause of it. And all of this, I think, calls for a new outfit, and let's all be honest, people, this outfit absolutely sucks. I promise things will improve. I've just never had to figure out an outfit for someone this bald before. In my new outfit, I had a chat with Takamura, and he somehow didn't kill me for the outfit, so I got to talk to Johnny as well, giving me a look at my options for quests. And to get started, I'm gonna go play some road trace, then collect my reward from Wakako and grab myself some brand new cyberware. I went with Ramry Coupe and upgraded some stuff before meeting with Judy. She sent me to Clouds, so it is time for some more cyberware fueled combat. First, I said hello to Sky before getting right into combat because stealth is for the weak and people who can do stealth takedowns. And also, killing Tiger Claws is something that's way too important to not go all out on. Speaking of important things to do, I showed Woodman far more mercy than he deserves, and his computer tells me it's time to give Fingers some of my mercy as well. So I once again ripped my way through some Tiger Claws with immense beauty and grace, then said hello to Fingers, and Fingers cooperated very well with my demands. So I dispensed my mercy, bringing me to the quest that shares its name with my favorite song, Disaster Piece. I zoomed through the brain dance faster than I ordered Guzman and Gomez to recover from a severe mental breakdown, and made my way to the Scav studio to do some more killing, and once again I zipped through all the bloodshed without dying but getting to very low health. It may seem like combat isn't proving super difficult for me, so I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm going to be doing the secret ending this challenge, so I can absolutely guarantee you I am going to go through some absolutely brutal, soul-crushingly difficult combat a little bit later. Anyway, I grabbed Evelyn and scrolled some brain dances at Judy's house. Everyone say thank you to Judy and tell her how much you love her in the comments right now. We have to appreciate Judy. Next up, I need to get Mr. Hands to get me in touch with the Voodoo Boys. And while I wait for him to get back to me, I switch to a Sandever stand because I don't want to make things easy for myself. So from now on, no more quick hacking. Next, I decided to hang out with my buddy Takamura for a bit because he's a cool guy. Then we went to see Wakako because we just wanted to keep hanging out, to be honest. And she showed us a little movie to help us plan a future hangout session. And then Takamura left to go do some research into where we should spend some quality time together next, and I went to go speak to Rogue. On the way there, I attacked some people for the crime of loitering, and they killed me. So as an act of vengeance, I killed them back, and continued fighting my way to the afterlife until I arrived and had a quick chat with my favorite Boeing engineer, then headed in to give Rogue all my money to tell me where a flying car is going to be, because V is dying, and shooting down this AV will finally bring V some joy. Now I just need to get Panam's help. So I met her, and now I need to help her get her car back, which I thought she was meant to be helping me, but okay. So we sprung a little trap on the Raffins that stole her car, and would you believe I jumped straight into action because I don't have time for stealth, and my thirst of blood just cannot wait for anything. My impatience led to things getting a lot very dicey, so I hid and rejoined the fight. This would be a lot easier if I had some kind of device that can shoot out little metal thingies at the enemies, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist. So I finished off the Raffins with my arm swords, and I just can't say no to Panam or to loot, so I carried on fighting in the Raffin hideout, which didn't go very well at all. So I unfortunately had to take things a little slower on my second attempt, instead of just running around like I have a death wish. I really need some armor cyberware at this point because the amount of damage I'm taking here, it's not good. I managed to beat them all in the end, so I looted everything up so I can upgrade my cyberware, played some road trace, and now I just have to sleep in a room alone because I've never done it before and I wanted to see what it's like. It was really sad and cold and lonely, and I didn't like it. I won't be doing that again. But I don't have time to worry about being sad and lonely right now. I've got an AV to shoot down. So I jacked into Panam's turrets, which as stated earlier, I think counts as using cyberware. Then I fried myself like a chicken that lives somewhere near Kentucky, which made Johnny sad. I hope he has fun being sad. In the meantime, I have a button to push and a Panam with a rocket launcher to admire. But rocket launcher Panam doesn't last forever, and I've got some more shooting to do with a turret plugged into my arm with a goddamn micro USB cable, which predictably causes some issues, but Panam takes a bullet to jiggle the cable back into place, and I finished off the drones. Now I have to save Mitch, so I pulverized the robots with my mantis blades and my Sandavis stand until they became tiny pieces of robots. And tiny pieces of robots just aren't quite as good at hurting me as the full-size robots are. So we saved Mitch and got to killing more poor Kang Tao soldiers. I'm sorry, China, you don't deserve this. Anyway, Hellman here says that V is dying because of that extra bit of cyberware I've got in my head, which, you know, seems accurate. So in response to that, I went and got some more cyberware, because surely the solution to my cyberware problem is more cyberware. And I mean, it's not like I got any other options. Next, I drove over to Pacifica to start chasing up the Voodoo Boys lead. Then I realized I do not look cool enough yet to talk to the Voodoo Boys, so I drove back to my apartment to put another outfit together. And this, I think, is the first time in this playthrough the fit isn't complete garbage. So, with my first acceptable outfit, I went to meet up with Takamura instead of going to Pacifica because the Voodoo Boys are famously very patient and understanding. I told Takamura to scout without me, which was a horrible mistake because he is not going to call me back until the 27th of last
seed, the year of Akatosh 433.
Placide is being very rude to me, and in the spirit of being rude, I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt this video to tell you to subscribe and like this video, and share it with a friend, or your mum. Your mum would be good too, I'm sure she'd like this video. And also, you can become a member on the channel for early videos, which, considering how little I upload, may or may not be a good investment, but I would appreciate it all the same. Anyway, it's time for me to take on the Grand Imperial Mall now, and this is not easy. The raw human strength of the animals is just kind of superior to my stupid cyberware, so I tried to be a bit more careful jumping in and out of combat so that my blood pump and Endeavor stand and also my health bar have time to recover, but that wasn't good enough either. So I kept trying, wishing I could just shoot my way out of this, but I am trapped within this metal shell using just my mantis blades, so I died again and again and again, and then I died 4 more times before making it to the van and shoving my arm plug into it. Now I just have to defeat Sasquatch, which is not good news. On my next attempt, I got into a bit of a rhythm, running away from Sasquatch to let my health and blood pump charge back up so that I can be a little less vulnerable to her cyborg crushing attacks. Beating a boss with melee only is hard, and it is only made harder by all of the consumables and armor that I don't have access to. But my strategy of running away and keeping my distance worked out pretty okay, and Sasquatch started aggressively vibrating on the floor, which is how I know I have done my job and I've done it well. I don't have the patience to speak to this Netwatch agent, but that didn't stop Placide from being rude to me. Brigitte decided that I have to take a very, very cold bath. I thought rust would be the biggest problem with that, but even worse than oxidization, I now have to play as Johnny again, and it's gonna be even worse this time. But there's nothing that can save me from this. So I got stabbed and Ol got kidnapped, then I asked Rogue for help, and now the pain begins. And this fight is going to be even more painful than seeing that Randy Pitchford has posted once again on Twitter. As I figured out how to survive in this fight, I started getting a strange sense of deja vu to the start of the video, because I'm attacking with my silver hand, then running and hiding, this time to wait for my health to go up instead of waiting for my RAM. And this was a long process. Long enough for me to make a time lapse. That's right, not only do I have a PC beefy enough for me to do a big 4K time lapse, even though I can barely afford rent, but I also managed to escape the bar and get outside, where there's more of the same enemies for me to suffer through fighting, so you can get another, shorter time lapse for these guys. The problems are not over though. I'm in a driving section now, and I tried not shooting, and it didn't work. So I'm gonna have to go with the same excuse I did with the elevator cable earlier, and just blame Johnny. If I blame all my problems on Johnny Silverhand, then everything will be okay, and I can succeed in this challenge. Fortunately, this will be the final time I'll have to play this card, because once I finish the drive, I'm back to punching faces with Johnny's silver hand. And this time, I've got a lot more help, and the area has more walls and cover, so I didn't have to hide and wait nearly as much as I did while trying to escape the Atlantic. Unfortunately though, there are turrets, which is not putting a smile on my face. Fortunately, they just kind of broke all by themselves, which doesn't really seem fair, but it also doesn't seem fair that I'm having to do all this with my fist, so it is what it is. Things didn't go perfectly after the turrets, but overall it wasn't too difficult, and I was able to clear out the last of the Arasaka security. If any of them survived my silver onslaught, they're gonna get in so much trouble with their boss because of this. Alt has unfortunately already become a computer person, and her flesh body is pretty much useless now, which is the best news I've heard maybe ever, because it means I am done with the Johnny Silverhand flashbacks. And that also means that I'm done with the Voodoo Boys, and it's time to move on to doing whatever I can think of while I wait for Takamura to finish his reconnaissance. I started with upgrading some Cyberware because hitting level 20 now means I can purchase tier 3 pieces of Cyberware, including a new set of Mantis blades and a new Sandever stand, which is a huge improvement. I've still got a long way to go, but I'm getting closer to being competent. I am still absolutely terrified about fighting Adam Smasher later, but that's a problem for later. Now I just need to go out harvesting resources from the innocent citizens of Pacifica to get my Cyberware even more goodera. That got boring fast though, so I took out a Cyber Psycho to shake things up and did some meditation to unwind. I didn't like the meditation though, it was not nearly cybernetic enough. Back at my apartment, Barry ignored me and I made another outfit. The colors clash horribly and I'm not happy with it. Barry seems to like it though because he'll talk to me now. So I accidentally skipped through some dialogue a little too fast, so it seems our friend Barry is not going to be long for this world. Now it's back to fighting random people for loot and XP, which is still boring, so I went after another Cyber Psycho, and this one short-circuited every single piece of cyberware I've got installed into my pathetic little flesh husk. So I tried again, and this time she was much kinder to me and allowed me to force her into wiggling around on the floor in agony for my entertainment, which gives me enough resources to do some more precious cyberware upgrades. And now most of it is tier 3 plus with a piece of tier 4 armor. And now, finally, Takamura has called me back. But as soon as I started driving over to Arasaka Industrial Park, Mama Wells called me. 7 hours of playtime after Jackie died, and let me know about Jackie's offrender. She may have waited at least a couple of weeks of in-game time to invite me, but I'll go anyway because I still feel kinda bad about how much better than him I am at dodging bullets. But for now, it's time to sabotage a float. Breaking stealth here took me about 10 seconds since I can't do silent takedowns at all. Then I found an underground tunnel that in all of my hours of playing this game, I have somehow never discovered. For my next new observation, I observed myself dying immediately after I finished sabotaging the float. As a quick aside, I'm 21 years old and my hair is going grey. Maybe these challenges have something to do with that. The next attempt went a lot better though, because I made sure to take out the majority of my enemies before sabotaging the float, which is nice, but it won't return the pigment to my hair. With the float sabotage, I made my escape and finally headed over to the El Coyote for Jackie's offrender, fighting through some NCPD bullshit on my way for that sweet, sweet loot. To pay my respects to Jackie, I played some roach race and got a new high score in his honor. Then I selected a basketball as my offering and made a silly little speech. I just wish Jackie could have been as cool and skilled and awesome as I am. Then maybe he would still be with us. Next up is kidnapping Hanako. So I got myself some more cyberware upgrades because there's a boss fight coming up. But now it's time to take out some snipers. And the whole stealth part of this section worked out really well, somehow. I didn't expect that, seeing as I can't do stealth takedowns. I'm honestly kind of disappointed I didn't get to be a bit more aggressive, but it all balances out in the end because Oda has arrived. And I gotta be honest, the combo of constantly stunning him with my Mantis blades and a Sandever stand at my disposal made Oda kind of impotent. Pretty disappointing boss, but things are about to get trickier because Takamura has snatched Hanako and that did not go well for anybody. And I absolutely have not forgiven Johnny for using a gun in those flashbacks. So I'm going to ignore his stupid advice and save Takamura, a decision that is totally not influenced by getting more loot and more XP. It's actually deeply unserious how much the game hypes this up as difficult. I mean, it's not super easy. Even once you save Takamura and have to take him a different route out of the building, it's just not harder than abandoning him. They're pretty even options. And saving Takamura means I get to have him absolutely despising me during the end credits as something to look forward to. After escaping, Hanako invited me to Embers, which means I could go finish the game, but seeing as I'm going to be doing the secret ending, I want to get to level 30 first, so I can get myself some better cyberware, and right now I'm just level 26. To start off with, I got myself a tier 4 Sandever stand and a handful of other upgrades, then quickly got myself up to level 27 fighting a Cyber Psycho before heading back to my apartment, rest in peace Barry, where I put together a new outfit. And this outfit here, this is my endgame outfit. I don't think there is a single better combination of apparel that I could have come up with. I've had so many bad outfits in this challenge, but finally this goofy looking homunculus looks beautiful. And I've got to be completely honest with you all, I'm getting sick of going around doing NCPD crimes and killing cyber psychos for loot, which is something I've been doing more than I've mentioned in the video, because if I mentioned it all, this video would be 2 hours long, and with my level of productivity, wouldn't release until 2027. So I'm gonna go save Saul, because that's a quest with a lot of enemies. It should give me a pretty good yield of XP. However, this was a horrible decision. So I took the long drive over to the Raffen camp and got to work going absolutely silly style on the Raffens. As limiting as only using Cyberware is, I've got to admit it's leading to some really fun gameplay. Running around in slow motion with mantis blades isn't something I've really done before. I'm more of a monowire and quick hacking type of player, but this is making me start to reconsider that playstyle. The challenge has decided to ruin all this fun though, because after saving Saul, there's a little vehicle section, and without shooting at the cars, I die. So I reloaded a save, took the long drive back to the Aldecaldo camp, swapped out my mantis blades for a projectile launcher, drove all the way back and tried again. And you know, it didn't even work. I can't use the projectile launcher while I'm in a vehicle. So I loaded another save and drove all the way back to the Ripper, grabbed myself a cyber deck and took the car hacker perk. Hopefully that'll work. So I once again took the long drive back to the Raffen camp and tried again, doing my absolute best to destroy all the cars. And would you believe me if I told you it still didn't work? Now I could just give up and do anything else at this point, but this little problem is something I'm feeling pretty stubborn over, so I tried again, attempting to be even more efficient, and it's going no better. So it is time to load a save back at the Aldecaldo's camp again to get a RAM upgrade, an X-Disc, and a memory boost. So hopefully that will finally do the trick. So I took what is hopefully my final long drive back to the Raffens, saved Saul again, hopped in the van again, and got started. And this extra RAM, it helps a lot, but not enough. I think it's close though. It's so close. So I tried again, then I died again, then I tried again, and then I died again, and tried again, and died again. So seeing as this isn't going too well, I tried again, and this time I did it. I shook the Raffen tail, and now I feel like maybe that was a waste of an hour. Maybe that was super cool and impressive. I honestly don't know what to think, and after going through all of that, there is absolutely no way that I am rubbing Panam's dirty, stinky feet, no matter how much I love her. And all of that bullshit has brought me from level 27 to level 28, which is not as much as I had hoped for, so I put my Cyberware back to normal and used all the loot I got to upgrade my mantis blades to tier 5. Now it's time to return to the level 30 grind, starting with liberating a cyber psycho from his life. Then a couple of NCPD crimes, then I found a green man in a shack. Did some more NCPD crimes until I leveled up, then of course I did some more NCPD crimes, then decided to shake things up with some more NCPD crimes, decided to do a gig after that, so that's fresh. There weren't many enemies, but once I picked up the beta acid and dropped it off, that gave me a whole bunch of XP. And now that I'm level 30, it's time to go upgrade the shit out of my Cyberware. Now that I can buy tier 4 items, I can use my eddies to swap out pretty much all of my tier 3 Cyberware for tier 4 Cyberware, and I upgraded my Sandever stand to tier 5. Next up, my perks are a mess. I haven't really talked about them in this challenge, but it's absolutely all over the place. So I removed most of my Cyberware and refunded all of my attributes and perks to tidy everything up. So these are my technical ability perks, my reflexes perks, and body perks. I don't want any cool or intelligence perks though. I don't need any of that. Now I just need to reattach all my Cyberware and I am ready to go meet Hanako. So I closed the game and made myself a coffee. Then came to the stunning realization that to do the secret ending, I have to do some more quests with Johnny. I knew this the whole time and just got distracted with all the road trace. If you want to unsubscribe, I understand. So I guess I'm driving to the afterlife instead of driving to Embers, to let Johnny get a little bit silly, and to make matters worse, after I got control of my body back, Rogue got really close into my personal space, which was not very nice, and now I have to wait a day for Rogue to tell me that we need to go to a boat. That means more combat, and this is a special little bit of combat because this is the last time in this challenge that combat won't be brutally, disgustingly, painfully difficult. After this moderately nail-biting encounter, I spared Grayson's life so that I can get Johnny's Porsche. Now the rest of my tasks before I can start the secret ending are pretty simple. I've just got to listen to Johnny yap at me in a field full of trash and let him take Rogue on a date. The date went poorly, but that's fine. I have now unlocked the secret ending. So I drove over to a Ripperdoc to make some final touches to my Cyberware. And here is my final Cyberware only challenge, Cyberware loadout. It isn't perfect, but there's enough pretty gold colors here that I think this ending ending may be kind of sort of achievable. And this means it is finally time to drive to a place near Embers and play some road race. I didn't get a new high score, which is not a good omen. But there's nothing else I can do to delay. It is time to talk to Hanako, sit and wait for 5 minutes on a roof for the gears in Johnny's head to finish spinning up a plan, and get started on what is about to take up the next 4 hours of my life. And I gotta say, partying like it's 2023 isn't all that great. I lasted 40 seconds before my first failure. So to make sure I lock in next time, I listen to all of the extraordinarily depressing voicemails as motivation to never have to listen to them again. This time I lasted a minute and a half. And while I continue trying to get through this first section, let me fill in the uninitiated on a couple quick details on how the secret ending works. As you may have noticed, the enemies hit a lot harder and have a lot more health. And my health bar decreases in size as I continue through the mission. But there's more. There is no manual saving while doing this ending. There are a couple times during this ending where I will get an autosave, but outside of that, I'm screwed. Through my immense skill and even immenser luck, I made it down the elevator, then fought through a bunch of enemies on the lower deck. But then I died and there was no save. So I am right back to square one. It is time to get serious here. This is not just a game. There is no room for silly business, so I started fighting like I never have before. Absolutely ripping through the top floor, and when I went down the elevator, I didn't give in to the open arms of death. I kept fighting through Arasaka security, wielding katanas and mantis blades and little guns and much larger guns until they ran out of humans with weapons and sent robots instead, which I also dispatched of. That was very hard, but through patience and perseverance, I managed to connect out to the Arasaka network, and all this was so not easy. I had to concentrate so hard that my head hurts and I am so drenched in sweat, I think I need to replace my skin. But the game has auto-saved and I won't have to do all that again. Things are about to get worse though, because Adam Smasher has arrived and I'll be trying to get through this fight for the next 3 hours. To start with, I absolutely savaged Adam for 2 minutes using my Sandevistan and blood pump as much as possible until they ran out and I retreated for them to recharge. And all of that knocked down his health to 88%. That could be better, but I haven't given up. I kept fighting, taking down the first little chunk of his health, and then spending a lot of my time running around and dodging, because without a blood pump charge to heal or a Sandevistan charge to slow things down, Adam kills me nearly instantaneously. And the first death of the fight here means I must force myself to suffer through this depressing end credits once again as motivation and or punishment. My second attempt, things went much worse, much quicker. I'm no longer inside the map. I'd spent quite a long time jumping around near the entrance, trying desperately to find my way back into the boss fight, but that just wasn't happening, so I watched some TV, then fell into a cave. And after some further exploration, I realized this is the tunnel you drive the basilisk through while you're doing the nomad ending. So after enjoying the ambience for a while, I walked right into the sub-levels of Arasaka Tower. And so I guess I'm exploring an empty Arasaka Tower now, which is very eerie and way too quiet. And while I was there, I discovered that Meat Man struck again. I also discovered a nice little documentary on Saburo Arasaka, so that's actually pretty neat. Next up, I saw that Meat Man has struck again, and again, and again, and again, and again. I don't know what all this means, but I am absolutely terrified. So I loaded a save and returned to fighting Adam Smasher, because at this point that's less scary than the dreaded Meat Man. And my fear of Meat Man seems to have empowered me, because this time I took off Adam's first chunk of health without having to run away. And I kept fighting, chipping away at his health bit by bit for nearly 10 whole minutes, until his health hit 50% and I died. Attempt 3 had me pulling some evasive maneuvers that I'm very proud of, but then I died immediately afterwards with his health at a disappointing 65%. Then I died again as Mr. Smash's health hit 50%. Maybe I should think about getting out of the way next time. So I beat him down once more until he got back to 50% health. Then I got out of the way and it worked. I survived into the next phase of the fight, and there are more enemies to fight now. But I won't let them distract me for long. Adam Smasher is still my focus, so I fought him all the way down to 36% before I got absolutely destroyed by him. Things didn't continue to go so well though, because I died pretty quickly on my next attempt, and then I died again and again and again, and all of those deaths took me half an hour. and I'm absolutely losing my mind here. So I let my girlfriend have a couple attempts so I can have a little break. She got Adam down to 73%, and then, in a shocking turn of events, on her second attempt, she still didn't beat him, and got Adam down to 60%, which is pretty decent. I promise she's actually really good at games. She beat Doom Eternal on Nightmare difficulty with only the shotgun. I mean, I may torture myself for these challenges, but even I wouldn't have done that. Anyway, with silly little me back behind the wheel, I fought down this stupid metal jerk who probably doesn't even have cyberware as cool as mine. Most of his cyberware is probably just cosmetic. He's an absolute poser, and because he's such a poser, he hit 50% health, and I got back into the third phase and died immediately. I haven't completely lost the plot though. I got him straight back down to 50% and kept fighting, getting absolutely silly on his pathetic corporeal form with my mantis blades, knocking out a huge chunk of that godforsaken health bar in one burst, which made it pretty easy to finally get Adam Smasher down to 30% health and enter the final phase of the fight. And it turns out the new rocket launcher attack he has is very powerful. So right after breaking some new ground, I ate shit and died before I made it halfway through. Then I was feeling pretty nostalgic, so I decided to die immediately after getting smashed to half health again. I really hope this next attempt goes better. It didn't go any better, but the next time I managed to crack 50%, and I also got smashed down to 30%. So it's time to really break some new ground and kick the shit out of this ugly half-alive robot. I ran away and hid when the missile attack happened this time, then I moved in and knocked off another little chunk of health, down to 20%. Then I took off a little more, then ran away, then I got real greedy, took a bunch of Smasher's health off, and got so close to death. Honestly, I should have died, but I'm extremely glad I didn't, because my next attack has put me in a position where if I die before finishing this fight, I will never forgive myself. And as it turns out, no forgiveness is necessary. I have finally defeated Adam Smasher after 3 hours. And now I just need to decide whether or not to kill him. Wasn't a difficult choice, and I would have slashed up his body a little bit after I killed him, but I'm honestly sick of stabbing him at this point, and quite frankly sick of stabbing in general. All that's left for me to do now is plug into Mikoshi and decide whether I live or Johnny lives. Fuck Johnny, I grinded for this view and he did nothing but screw me up in his stupid little flashbacks. But the important thing is, I just beat Cyberpunk 2077 with only cyberware. Thank you so much for watching, and an extra special thanks to Insect Liquid and Reiyua. Reiyua. That's too hard to pronounce. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This one took a little while. I hope that I'll be back sooner next time, and I'll see you all then. Bye.